if I told you there was an insert set that was much, much rarer than the base set, but the prices were much, much cheaper than the base set? Same manufacturer, same set, same players. You would probably think, how's that even possible, right? Well, that is exactly the case with the AllStar cards that Topps had from 1958 to 1962. It's truly amazing to me that they're not worth more. Now, do I expect them to be worth the same as the base set, the regular card? No, I don't expect that. But when the population is significantly less and the price that they're selling for is significantly less, it seems interesting. It seems like something must be wrong. I don't know. I don't really get it. Whenever I see something and I go, that seems odd, that seems weird, there must be more to the story, that's when I turn to looking into it, making a video on it, and throwing it out there to all of you. So on the docket today is the 1958 to 1962 Topps All-Star cards and comparing them directly to the base set. Check this out and tell me what you think. But I think you might be surprised when we look at values and we look at the population reports. Check it out.
All right, so Topps started making cards in 1951 with the redbacks and the bluebacks. And if you look here, you can see some of those, and obviously the ones with the bluebacks are the bluebacks, and the ones with the redbacks are the redbacks. And they're pretty cool cards, but they don't have a crazy amount of value. Now, Topps that year also started making these Connie Mack All-Star cards. And you can see those here. And those also, for some reason, seem to be undervalued for most of them. Now, some of the ultra rare ones and really high grades can fetch quite a bit of money. But that's where Topps started in 1951 with sports cards. Well, they continued making sets in 1952, but they did not try All-Star cards again until 1958. So if you look here, we have a Mantle, Mays, and Aaron, and we're going to focus on those three guys throughout this video. And those are the cards for the All-Star card for each of these players. Now, Mantle has a red background because he is an American leaguer. The blue backgrounds are the National Leaguers. Now, when we look at the population here, the All-Star has a lot more, even though it's a higher number card, even though it's a later series card. Now, it was basically a double print, and there's a lot more of them out there. But out of all of the years, the only time there's more of the All-Star than the base is the 58 Mantle. So we look at the 58 Mantle in a 6, and we're going to be looking at 6s only in the prices here. It's $780 for the All-Star and $2,100 for the base card. And again, there are more All-Stars for this card only out of all of the ones we're looking at. And again, those prices are for PSA 6. So now we'll look at the Willie Mays 58. Now again, it's got the blue background in the All-Star because he's a National League player. But look at the population. We've got about 2,200 compared to about 3,800. So a lot more of the base card. But the All-Star card sells in a 6. This is the most recent sale at $299. The base card, the most recent sale in a 6 is $811. So in this case, it's about 2.5 times as much for the base card. Now, when we look at Hank Aaron's All-Star is about $3,000, and the base card is looking at about $3,800. So again, significantly more of the regular Hank Aaron card. Now, when we compare the prices, the All-Star card is at $162 for the most recent sale versus the base card, which is almost $600. So over 3 times as much for the base card than the All-Star card, even though the All-Star card is significantly rarer, which I really find that interesting. Usually the cards that are more rare are more expensive. So let's look at the 59 Topps All-Star. Now, again, this time they switched it. The red is for the National League and the blue is for the American League. Now, when we look at these, we're going to, again, start with Mantle, and we're just looking at these 3 players to stay consistent throughout. So the All-Star Mantle has about 3,200. The regular Mantle has 7,800. So well over twice as many of the regular Mantle card than the All-Star card. And again, most of the time the All-Star card is the last series or near the last. And the All-Star card here is $430 is the most recent sale in a 6. But the regular is $1,600. So here we're at almost 4 times as much for the base card than the All-Star. But there are well over twice as many of the base card than the All-Star. So more supply, but the price is almost 4 times as much. All right, how about the Willie Mays in the 59 All-Star? Now, 2,000 of the All-Stars have been graded by PSA versus the regular, it's almost 5,000. So again, more than double. But the 59 All-Star last sold in a 6 for $193. And the base last sold for $450. So even though there are more than twice as many of the base is selling for twice as much. It's interesting because nowadays inserts that have fewer copies out there, has a lower supply, they pretty much always sell for a lot more because there are fewer of them. But with these All-Star cards, other than the 58 Mantle, the All-Star is significantly shorter printed, but the price is pennies on the dollar. All right, so let's look at the Hank Aaron of the 59 All-Star. So again, we're looking here, and we've got about 1,700 of the All-Star, almost 4,700 of the base. The All-Star in a 6 sold for $135 last time it sold. And again, these are eBay sales just because of the volume. And the base last sold for $500. So more than 3 times the value, even though it's almost 3 times the supply. Now, tell me what you think about this. Now, we're going to keep looking at the next few years, but tell me, why do you think this is? Is the demand for the base card so much greater that even though the supply is much less, the price, I mean, it's interesting. So we have the 60 Topps. Now at this point they went with this cool 60 background. They got the silhouette with the drop shadow there. Very cool looking All-Star cards for the 1960s, if you ask me. And when we look at the Mantle first up, again, about 4,000 of the All-Stars have been graded versus over 8,000 of his regular card. It's interesting, though. It's really interesting. The All-Star for the 60 last sold for $460 in a 6. I mean, that's a really nice looking card there. And then the base one sold for $11.25. $11.25. So again, more than double for the regular than the All-Star. Now, I understand that the base card would have a higher demand than the All-Star. I get that. But is the demand that much more? Or is there just value here? Is there value with the All-Star card? So we're looking at the Willie Mays All-Star, about $2,200. And we're looking at the Mays regular, and it's over $5,000. The All-Star sold for $250 and a 6 in the last sale. And the regular sold for $410. So this one is a little bit closer. It's not quite double. Interesting that would be the case, that it would be not quite double. Both are very cool cards. And when we move forward here, we're going to continue to see this trend where the All-Star card is about half the print, sometimes a third of the print, but the value is significantly less. All right, so Hank Aaron in the 60. Now, again, one of the reasons I'm showing these cards is I think they're really cool cards, and I think the All-Star is a great way to get an affordable version of some of these all-time great players. So the All-Star, 2,200 of them, 3,700 of the regular. A Hank Aaron All-Star, 1960, in a 6. Nice card. Last sold for $190. Seems like a really good deal. Now, when we look at the regular one, it sold for $444. So again, more than double. And the supply of them is about 60% of the regular for the All-Star. Now, when we go through these, when you're looking at them, if any of these All-Star cards really catch your eye, I think they're a great buy right now. I think they're a great way to get a cool card from some of these great players. So we got the 61 Topps All-Stars next. It looks like they're jumping out of the newspaper. Sporting News here is the sponsor for a few years, the partnership they have with Topps. So we've got the 61 Mantle versus the 61 Mantle All-Star. Almost 8,000 of the regular Mantles and about 2,900 of the All-Star. The All-Star in a 6 last sold for about $700. Interesting that the 6 would have a jump in it, or the 61 would have a jump in it. The pictures are similar. It's a different picture, but it's a similar pose. And then $1,150 for the regular. So not quite double. It's about 80% more or so for the regular. When we look at Mays, the Mays in the All-Star, we've got about 1,500 of them is all. That's not very many. Versus 5,200 of his regular card. I mean, 5,200 versus 1,500. Well over 3 times as many. And the All-Star last sold in a 6 for $190. And then the regular last sold for $244. Because of the larger print run of the 61, that is one of the more affordable Mays cards if you're looking for one of his older cards. And $244 for a 6 is a really pretty reasonable price for a Willie Mays. But again, I think that population has a lot to do with it. The 6 in the All-Star we see is going to pop up here in a second. There's, again, about twice as many of the regular than the All-Star for this Hank Aaron. There's the 6. $178 for the Aaron All-Star in 1961. I really like the 61 Hank Aaron card a lot, and that one's about $400. So again, more than double from the All-Star to the regular as far as price, and about twice as many out there for the regular over the All-Star. Now, which of these cards do you like? Again, for me, I really like that Aaron base 61. I really like the 60 All-Stars of Mays, Mantle, and Aaron. Now, the 62 set is a polarizing. A lot of people really like it, and a lot of people really don't like it with that wood grain border. So we've got the, again, Sporting News partnership going there for the All-Star cards. All three of these cards they're kind of looking over into the distance and also on the base. Now we look at the Mantle here. We have 2,400 or so of the All-Star, about 5,400 of the regular, so more than double for the print run for the regular over the All-Star again. And we've got $286 that the All-Star sold for in the 62 Mantle. And then, whoa, it jumps up to $1,000 here for the 62 base Mantle. So twice as many base over All-Star, but the price is almost 4 times for the base over the All-Star. We got Willie Mays. I like the 62 regular Willie Mays card. I like that card a lot. Now, when we look at the run here, we got about 1,800 of the All-Star and about 3,100 of the regular. And when we look at them and we look at the prices, now look at that. An All-Star Willie Mays 62 tops. There's only 1,800 have been graded by PSA, and a 6 sold for $93. Doesn't that seem low? Like really low? And then the regular card sold for $700. So over 7 times as much. Why would that All-Star be so inexpensive? I mean, it's not an amazing looking card, but man. And then last but not least, we've got the 62 All-Star and regular of Hank Aaron. Now we've got about 1,700 of the All-Star. We've got just under 3,000 of the regular. So almost double once again. And it's interesting that the All-Star price again now for the Aaron is $56 in a 6. Doesn't that seem low? Seems really low to me. And then the 62 regular is about $800. So now we're talking about 15 times the price of the All-Star, even though the print run for the regular is double that of the All-Star. Really, really interesting. Now, I totally understand why the demand of the regular card would be more than the All-Star. I get it. But is the demand that much? I think there's big value in buying the All-Star cards during this stretch.